Listen to all your favorites all day, every day. Gold FM 93 or 93.2 island-wide.
The news headlines on Gold FM.
Good evening. This is Dulia De Silva for Gold FM, bringing you your news in detail. In your news headlines: promises of peace in the Middle East after Trump's revelation. Select strikes on Iran postponed. Oman pushes for safe passage through Hormuz. Did Sri Lanka invite Iristina? Ambassador responds. Three-wheelers and bakery owners respond to fuel price hike. Buses may follow suit. NIC issuance back to normal tomorrow. FR petition against Saleh detention to be taken up in SC. Oil prices ease following Trump announcement.
The top story on Gold FM.
US President Donald Trump announced a short while ago that the United States held what he described as very good and productive conversations with Iran over the past few days. As a result, he said he was postponing for a 5-day period any planned US military strikes on Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure. Trump tied the pause to progress in these discussions, aimed at a complete and total resolution of hostilities, and reiterated the need to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The announcement led to an immediate drop in oil prices, with markets reacting to signs of potential de-escalation after his earlier 48-hour ultimatum threatened to obliterate Iranian power facilities if the strait remained blocked. However, Iran's foreign ministry swiftly denied any such talks. A spokesperson stated that there had been no direct or indirect contact with the United States, accusing Washington of spreading misinformation, possibly to buy time or influence markets. Iranian state media, including Fars and Tasnim agencies, echoed this, insisting that no negotiations were underway and that Tehran would not engage while under attack. Reports suggest any back-channel communications, if they exist, may involve Oman, which has historically mediated between the two sides, though no confirmation has emerged of active Oman-hosted talks in recent hours. On the military front, Israeli forces carried out strikes in Tehran overnight and into this morning, described by the IDF as targeting regime infrastructure. Videos from Iranian streets show extensive damage, with residents using torches to search rubble amid power outages in some areas. Iran's health ministry reports the overall civilian death toll now exceeds 1,500 since the conflict began. In retaliation, Iran launched fresh ballistic missile barrages towards Israel, with impacts reported in southern towns near Dimona, including areas close to the nuclear facility, wounding more than 180 people, some seriously. Iranian missiles also struck central and northern Israel, with cluster munitions allegedly used in several locations. The conflict has widened further. Hezbollah claimed rocket attacks on Israeli positions in southern Lebanon, while the Israeli military struck the Kasmieh Bridge over the Litani River, escalating operations against the group. Iran warned that any attack on its coast or islands would prompt mining of the entire Persian Gulf, threatening a full closure of key shipping lanes. Trump's pause announcement drew mixed reactions. Israel signalled potential pushback, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expected to address the move soon. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer welcomed any signs of productive dialogue and called for de-escalation and reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guard vowed retaliation against regional power infrastructure if energy sites are hit. In the meantime, Professor Michael Clark, a prominent defense analyst, read between the lines of the postponement message from US President Donald Trump.
and we were discussing it, that he was likely to back down on this or likely to find room to not implement it because it was such a serious step to take which would spin the war completely out of anyone's control. It occurs to me also there may be a technical reason for this. I mean, if you look at what the United States was talking about doing, attacking the whole infrastructure, there's over 400 power generation plants in Iran. It's a big, physically a big country, much bigger than Britain, 90-odd million people, producing about 90,000 megawatts of power. And so there's a lot of them. And it might well be that the military said, when he said prepare this plan, the military might have said, well, what effect are you trying to have, boss? We could take out the small ones, wouldn't have a big effect. We could take out the big ones, have a big effect. What do you want? A lot of time must have gone into thinking about what they would actually do if he carried through on his threats. And they only had 48 hours to do it. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if the military didn't say to him, Mr. President, we're not sure what target set would have the effect you want to have. And it'll take us a bit of time to work that out and to actually plan for the sort of attacks that we need on those targets.
He also spoke of Iran's response.
Interestingly, the Iranians are now saying, we didn't have any talks with them, either directly or through intermediaries.
Yeah, that's what I thought was really interesting, because they're framing this as,
unilateral decision.
Yeah.
You backed off, Mr. President. Taco. Trump always chickens out. That's what they will say. We stood up to you. You backed out. The Iranians think that they're winning. They've established conditions. They've said we want a closure of all American bases. We want Gulf money to reconstruct Iranian damage after this war. There's zero chance that those conditions would ever be accepted. But the fact that they're naming these conditions tells you that they think they're winning. They think that they're in a position to establish some terms rather than just wanting the war to stop. So, as misguided as that may be, because ultimately I think this may bring down the Iranian regime, not now, but maybe in 6 months' time or 2 years' time. They may win the war against America and then lose the war against their own people, other states in the Gulf, who will have nothing to do with them after this war. So I think in the long term, Trump's policy might work.
This is the local news on Gold FM.
There was quite a revelation today by the Iranian ambassador in Colombo, Dr. Alireza Dilkhosh. He revealed that the Sri Lankan side invited all 3 vessels that took part in a multinational naval exercise, one of which was later blown out of the water near Sri Lanka by a US submarine. He had other clarifications too. Dilkhosh insisted that vessels are not being charged to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, despite there being reports to the contrary. On the Iranian vessel that met its end near Sri Lanka, Iris Dana, this is what he had to say.
According to our information, Dena was not ready for war, and it was not here for war. It was not here for conflict. It was participated in peaceful exercise in India. During presence in India, the vessel, 2 other vessels were invited, I repeat it, invited by Sri Lankan side to come here. And just they came here upon their invitation. And when they were here, they didn't receive any alert in advance from United States. They attacked it without any war, without any alert. And because more of these killed people are not armed army, they were music group, music band. Their weapons were saxophone and violin, and they were killed. 104 people without any alerts.
Breaking news.
In News Justin, bus fares will be increased by 12.19% from midnight, with the minimum fare raised by 3 rupees to 30 rupees. This was confirmed by the Cabinet spokesperson. Here's that breaking news once again. Bus fares will be increased by 12.19% from midnight, with the minimum fare raised by 3 rupees to 30 rupees. This was confirmed by the Cabinet spokesperson. Going back to our news in detail, the Iranian ambassador in Colombo, Dr. Alireza Dilkhosh, gave some further clarity on the situation with Sri Lanka.
During the exercise in India, your Navy commander invited from Iranian Navy commander to send these vessels to Sri Lankan waters in order to have friendly visits. 3 of them. One went to Indian coast and 2 of them came here. Dena was attacked and Bushehr is here.
Responding to a question, the Iranian ambassador noted that Sri Lanka only needs to ask if it needs any help with oil.
Sri Lanka is our friend country, and Hormuz Strait is not close to our friend country's vessels. Because of that, Iran always is ready to provide all necessities of friendly countries like Sri Lanka. And in any case, if Sri Lanka demands oil or any other necessity goods, Iran will supply and provide these goods to Sri Lanka. We don't want to see Sri Lanka in trouble. And nation of Sri Lanka is very esteemed and respected people to Iran.
He took the opportunity to insist that Iran at this stage is not favouring a ceasefire.
Our government said that we are not welcoming war, but we don't want to have ceasefire. Ceasefire is temporary issue, and after a while they will attack again. We want to have peace talking, but with our preconditions. We have some preconditions, and if these preconditions fulfilled, yes, we can talk and we can go to negotiation. But right now, definitely, we don't want to have any negotiation with our aggressors. The aggressors should withdraw without any precondition from our region, and they have to compensate to all attacks.
There was also a warning.
Iran neither seeks war nor welcomes it. The Iranian nation is a peace-loving nation, and history bears witness to this. At the same time, we respond decisively to any aggressors in defense of our land. Countries that stand with the aggressors are, according to international law, accomplices in the regime's act of aggressions. I repeat my message. Don't be complicit in the crimes of the United States and Israel regime.
Three-wheeler fares and bakery products saw an immediate price hike following the recent rise in fuel costs. Western Province Road Passenger Transport Authority Chairman Gamini Jasinghe confirmed a 10 rupee increase in three-wheeler fares effective today, a move echoed by the All Salon Bakery Owners Association. Association President N.K. Jayawardena stated that the price of bread and other bakery items will rise by 10 rupees from midnight today, citing the heavy impact of fuel prices on production and delivery. Milk powder importers and wheat flour companies assured Trade Minister Vasantha Samarasinha that they will not increase prices despite the current economic pressure. During a meeting at the ministry, representatives noted that while fuel hikes and dollar fluctuations impact costs, they intend to provide relief to the public for the next 3 months using existing stocks. Conversely, Construction Association of Sri Lanka Chairman M. Darrington Paul warned of significant collapses in the construction sector due to the ripple effects of the Middle East stability. President Anurukumara Dissanayake instructed authorities to consult local government bodies on implementing formal energy management measures during a meeting at the Presidential Secretariat today. The discussions focused on stabilising the national energy supply against the backdrop of the ongoing Middle East conflict, with specific emphasis on managing consumption between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. The Department of Registration of Persons announced that the issuance of national identity cards will return to normal tomorrow, following a technical glitch in the computer system. Authorities advised the public who arrived for services today to return tomorrow, as the system failure disrupted all operations.
Now for some news in brief.
The Supreme Court fixed the 25th of September to hear a fundamental rights petition filed by retired Air Force officer Shantha Jaitilaka, challenging the arrest and detention of former State Intelligence Service Chief, retired Major General Suresh Saleh, under the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
The business news on Gold FM.
The all-share price index of the Colombo Stock Exchange closed red after declining 274.76 points to close at 20,364.97 points. The S&P SL20 index also declined 65.37 points to close at 5,686.82 points. Total market turnover was 2.4 billion rupees. Market sentiment remains closely tied to a global conflict, as the Colombo Stock Exchange awaits a breakthrough in ongoing peace negotiations. The CSE experienced a sharp downturn since the outbreak of hostilities, with indices falling by nearly 20%. We spoke to Sachin Unambue, head of fixed income research at Capital Alliance, to gain further insights.
Overall, this decline, I think we've seen almost a 15 to 20% decline in the CSE since the war started. And it is 100% to do with the repercussions to Sri Lanka of the war, right? You've seen now oil prices go up by close to 30%, and we expect them to go up even further if this continues. So all of this is weighing on investor sentiment. And the longer the war drags on, the more difficult it is for Sri Lanka as a country, and also for the rest of the world, and especially this region.
He added that while the conflict could potentially be resolved within a month, a full recovery in supply chains and relief from elevated fuel costs may take an additional quarter. Despite near-term challenges for consumers, he remains optimistic that Sri Lanka's domestic fiscal background can improve.
The CSC's fate is really tied into how quickly this can be resolved.
International news on Gold FM.
An Air Canada express jet carrying 76 people collided with a fire truck during its landing at the New York's LaGuardia Airport on Sunday, killing both pilots and injuring dozens. The facility remains closed as investigators examine air traffic control communications and staffing levels linked to a partial government shutdown. 9 people remain in hospital with serious injuries, while authorities confirmed that the aircraft and emergency vehicle both received clearance for the same runway. Brent crude prices tumbled more than 8% to trade below $89 a barrel today, following comments from US President Donald Trump regarding the war. The global benchmark fell sharply from an earlier peak of $114 after the president suggested ongoing talks between the United States and Iran could end the conflict. WTI, the US benchmark, also slid 8% to $89 a barrel, marking a $10 drop from its earlier trading position as markets reacted to the potential for a diplomatic breakthrough.
Entertainment news on Gold FM.
Comedian Greg Davies will replace Alan Cumming as the host of the BAFTA TV Awards in 2026. The ceremony, featuring the Taskmaster star, is scheduled for the 10th of May at the South Bank Centre's Royal Festival Hall.
Sports news on Gold FM.
Sri Lanka Cricket granted no objection certificates to players including Ishan Malinga for the IPL and Kusal Mendes for the Pakistan Super League. In addition, Pathum Nissanka, Kamindu Mendes, Dushmantha Chamira and Dunit Villalage were already granted permission earlier to participate in their respective franchise commitments. The governing body stated that only players who passed the required fitness tests received clearance to take part in these overseas leagues. That's it for now. This is Dulia De Silva for Gold FM. Thank you and have a lovely